Namaskar, welcome back. Viewers, bluff and bluster do not last long. This became clear when Pakistan, just after Operation Sindoor, tried to tell the whole world that it had inflicted a lot of damages on the Indian side. But as Government of India, our armed forces started furnishing evidences of each and every strike, and Pakistan had almost nothing to show by way of evidence. Both government sources as well as independent sources and experts came to know who was the winner in this entire conflict. All the claims of Pakistan fell apart like 9 pins, faster than the drones that they had sent to our side. Meanwhile, the talk of the world right now, both in the media and governments, is the new doctrine so emphatically given out by Prime Minister Narendra Modi that if anybody strikes India through an act of terror, that will be considered an act of war and will be replied in the same manner. On Media Scan this evening, a look at all these fast-paced developments through the week.
आतंक के विरुद्ध भारत की लक्ष्मण रेखा अब एकदम स्पष्ट है। अब फिर कोई टेरर अटैक हुआ तो भारत जवाब देगा, पक्का जवाब देगा। कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। तीसरा, हम आतंक की सरपरस्त सरकार और आतंक के आकाओं को अलग अलग नहीं देखेंगे।
The Prime Minister made it very clear that the only talks with Pakistan will be on terror. That Pakistan has a list of terrorists who need to be handed over. They have to shut down the terrorist infrastructure. They know what to do. We are prepared to discuss with them what is to be done on terrorism. Those are the talks which are feasible.
We also iterated that our fight was with terrorists and their support infrastructure and not with Pakistan military. However, it is a pity that the Pakistan military chose to intervene and bat for the terrorists, which compelled us to respond in kind.
Operation Sindoor was conceptualized with a clear military aim to punish the perpetrators and planners of terror and to destroy their terror infrastructure. What I do not state here, of course, is the often stated determination of India and its intolerance to terror.
Indian Navy's action is part of the escalation ladder mechanism which we have worked out amongst 3 services. This time, if Pakistan dare take any action, and Pakistan knows it, what we are going to do.
So, after that quick report, let me come to our expert for this evening, Alok Bansal. You know him as a geopolitical expert, well known for not mincing words when it comes to the security of the country. Namaskar, sir. Welcome. And sir, very quickly, I just wanted to ask you, why is it that the world media, particularly the Western media, is so quick to buy whatever is being peddled from Pakistan, which we also saw happening earlier this week, but in a matter of a day or two, it had all come apart. Do you think the world media is quicker to give the benefit of doubt to Pakistan when it comes to sensitive, serious matters?
See, I think there are 2 reasons for it. I think firstly, we were a little slow in disseminating information, and our private media, I think in some cases went berserk with falsifying some of the informations, like reporting attack on Karachi, Ormara, etc. And as a result, our private media lost its credibility. So they actually took on Pakistani media, and by that time the DGMO's press conference came, when all the facts were presented to the world. and they could see what all damages had been done, I think the truth was there for everyone to see. More importantly, Pakistan had been peddling lies that they have attacked this point, that point, and I think that is where you have to see Prime Minister Modi's first visit to Adampur was because Pakistan had claimed that Adampur had been attacked.
Yes.
So what better proof could be there than to show to the world that Prime Minister is staying there and meeting with the troops and discussing, talking. So I think if at all ever they needed a proof that Pakistan was telling lies, it was here for them to see. Whereas even before that, when the DGMO's press conference was there, all the targets, that is the 9 targets that were attacked on the first day, those were the terror hubs. And then when the Pakistan military attacked us and we gave them symbolic attacks on Pakistan's military targets, some of them as deep as Jacobabad and Bolari Airways, which were on the other side of Indus. And with the precision with those places had been struck, that was actually commendable. And I think the world media obviously saw that and appreciated that.
Right. And I'm now joined by another expert on geopolitics, well-known author Dr. Abhinav Pandya. You have heard him on Media Scan on earlier occasions. Namaskar, Abhinav. I'll come to you quickly now. The question we are discussing right now is how the world media was so quick to buy the lies peddled by Pakistan, but then in a matter of maybe less than 40 hours, those lies had all been busted. And now it is not just those precision evidences that Mr. Bansal was pointing about, that those that were presented by Government of India functionaries. It is in fact independent sources across the world, well-known military historians, people who cover the military sector very, very keenly, such as Tom Cooper, John Spencer, and independent media sources have one by one all proved that we did inflict all those damages that have been claimed by our armed forces. In fact, more than what was claimed, whereas Pakistan's claims have not been proven at all, except maybe damaging a few huts along the LOC and killing or injuring innocent civilians.
Thank you very much, Pitaji. I think first and foremost, Western media has a very strong bias against India. That goes without saying. There's hardly any doubt about that. So in any of the coverage, whether it's like in the past Article 370 or Balakot or anything, Western media would always, their coverage will tilt towards Pakistan. And secondly, I feel that, the most important part here that I want to highlight is that I think so that, that Pakistan was already prepared for this kind of narrative warfare. And this sort of preparation comes only when you have a prior intent in your mind to provoke India into a war. Okay, because after the Balakot, after the Pulwama Fidain attack, India did Balakot strikes. And after that, it was a very clear signal that anything in the future, any terror attack of that scale in the future would be met with a very massive retaliation, at least a notch higher than what we did in Balakot. Now, if that's the case, then they were pretty sure about Prime Minister Modi's policy on terror. And they knew that, India would retaliate at that scale. That means they had some, prior or something already in their mind, to which made them prepared for this war. And they might have, concurred well with their backers like Turkey and China. And I suspect a much bigger game. Now, if that is the case, then you already make advanced preparations, for like how to react in such a scenario. They might have wanted to test India's red lines or India's weapon systems, but, because our reaction initially was just to strike the terror camps. We didn't think about, launching a full-scale offensive on the entire border, but they retaliated with a full-scale offensive on our civilian institutions, on our military institutions. So that was something completely, out of a blue. And, in fact, our all strategic and intelligence assessments failed to even anticipate that kind of reaction. That's why in the initial, days, this was some sort of confusion prevailed. But later on, when our forces reacted firmly, dismantling, destroying and crushing everything they had, after that, they had nothing to show, nothing to speak. And today, when after the DGMO's conferences, press conferences taken place, a lot of evidence is coming in social media, there's hardly any doubt that Pakistan is, they don't stand anywhere in front of Indian armed forces.
And in fact, it is not just the damage to installations or what tangible impact it may have had. People are also now questioning the fact that there is not much difference left between what we used to call as state and non-state actors earlier,
Yes,
because that has
yes.
become so very evident. But allow me to come back to Mr. Bansal here. Sir, we can go on about the media, whether it is the Western media or maybe some misjudgment on the part of the Indian media as well. But let us come to something more substantial and long term, and that is the doctrine that has been put forth so emphatically by Prime Minister Modi. And one point where it has been made clear that furthermore, henceforth, any attack of a terrorist nature will be considered an act of war. Now, there is no doubt that this is a huge paradigm shift in the way India deals with terror. But like always, there are some doubting Thomases who are saying if such is the case, then even a small act of firing may, may escalate into a situation of a very difficult situation between the two neighbors, and this will put the subcontinent into instability. Do you buy that argument?
No, I don't buy that. Firstly, that's not an isolated firing on the line of control is not an act of terror. It's an
Correct.
act of belligerence, or it's an act of you can say skirmish or something, but it's certainly not an act of terror, because it's a soldier firing across the line at another soldier or something like that. What is important is that Prime Minister actually clarified certain aspects. He says that whoever indulges in that sort of terror act, we will hunt them and eliminate them wherever they are. That's very important, that we will go and strike them irrespective of where they are hiding. And most important point which he mentioned was that we will not make a distinction between regimes that are nurturing terror and the leadership of terrorist organizations. Now, this is a very, very important facet, because Pakistani government in the past have been saying that we have nothing to do with this. But the fact is...
So no state actors, non-state actors?
Absolutely, because they are the ones who are nurturing it. Now, to say that we are not part of this is different, but if you are allowing such an organization to flourish under your regime and allowing them and providing them all sorts of support, then you are as much as guilty as the terrorist tanzeem or whatever it is. And I think it was clearly evident by the photographs that the Foreign Secretary put out the other day, where you saw that when a dreaded terrorist was killed, the people in uniform were rubbing shoulders with the hardened clerics and terrorists and paying homage to them. In fact, wreaths were sent by top government functionaries. So that very clearly brought that as far as Pakistan is concerned, the line dividing the state actors and non-state actors is very thin, and it actually gets obliterated. And by Prime Minister Modi stating this fact, that we will not make a distinction between terrorist leadership and the regimes nurturing them, I think we have made it very clear that another terrorist attack, and we will definitely take out those who are responsible for it.
Yes, and you yourself mentioned very clearly how the evidence of actors and non-state actors actually being brothers, if I may say that, was very clear when we saw the namaz-e-janaza of some of those dreaded terrorists who were eliminated, when functionaries of the Pakistan army were standing at the forefront of their funeral. But one more evidence, sir, which has now come to light and which has made the entire world take notice, is the appointment of the new Pak ISI chief. It is now come to light that he is actually the son of a person who was sanctioned by the UN because he provided the nuclear technology know-how to the dreaded Al-Qaeda. That person heading the intelligence wing of the Pakistan army, officially appointed. Can anything be more stark and clear than this?
No, nothing can be more bizarre. In Pakistan's case, we have seen such distinctions between terrorists and government functionaries often gets obliterated. We saw Osama bin Laden was next door to the Pakistan Military Academy. Obviously, he couldn't be living there without the support of the organization that was next door. Similarly, we have seen in the past there have been large number of people in the Pakistani government who have had close linkages with terrorists. We have seen DG ISIs going and meeting with Al-Qaeda leadership, Taliban leadership. And now, of course, we have again DG ISI, whose father is somebody who had a hand in providing dreaded technologies to the terrorists. And I think that shows how much Pakistan worries about terrorism, because Pakistanis often cite to the global community that we are the biggest victims of terrorism. The fact is they have been nurturing terrorism and condoning people who are associated with terrorist organizations and actually encouraging those people to come and occupy the positions of power.
Abhinav, I want your take on this. The appointment of the new Pakistan, the ISI in charge. First of all, will it not create much more problems for the subcontinent, most particularly for India? That is one. Secondly, in the case of Mumbai or even Pulwama earlier, Pakistan had tried to, it had gone into a denial mode and trying to dissociate itself from these terrorists, etc. Now with such a DG ISI, do you think that is even a possibility anymore, this effort at denial?
Smitaji, first of all, I must say that I'm not at all surprised with this because, if you look at Pakistan's history, during the American intervention in Afghanistan, Amrullah Saleh was the chief of intelligence in Afghanistan, the NDS. He used to provide the list of phone numbers, which were operating in the Quetta region. Basically the Taliban people and the Al-Qaeda chaps who were operating in KPK. So he used to provide the list of phone numbers to the ISI guys, and ISI rank and cadre, ISI leadership would negotiate with them, and after a few hours they would find that all the phone numbers were dead, they were not working. ISI masterminds like Colonel Imam, Hamid Gul, they were hands in glove with the training these jihadists in Afghanistan. In fact, they laid the bedrock of the jihadist infrastructure in South Asia. So I'm not at all surprised. And secondly, definitely this is going to be problematic for India because Pakistan has realized India's capabilities in a direct war now, and they're going to ramp up massive, terror attacks in India. I'm told that during these last 3-4 days, massive infiltration has taken place in Jammu and Kashmir, and these are all like hardcore terrorists from the FATA region. They are very well trained. So some of these Fidayins will come, and in the new strategy, I'm told that they are going to be mostly consolidating in the jungles. In case of any future troop movement in a war situation, these people will be exploding bombs as Fidayin attackers. Besides that, Pakistan can also ramp up communal tensions in India amidst the current milieu where you see a very massive Islamist radicalization among the Muslims. So I guess we should be prepared for that.
There are fresh reports that now Pakistan is having to step back and it is asking for a more detailed dialogue on the question of the Indus Waters Treaty, which the Indian government has announced that it is being kept in abeyance. Do you think the pressure of the Indus Waters Treaty is a much bigger deterrent than what we have seen on the military side, and this may be the real long-term worry rather than any strikes by India?
Well, regarding the Indus Waters Treaty, Smitaji, I must say that we still need sufficient infrastructure to block the water supply for a sufficiently longer period of time, because keeping that water and diverting it to the agricultural use in India requires sufficient network of canals and also dams, which will take some time for the preparation of time to build. But I guess more than that, Pakistan has realized that India is militarily very strong. And I can tell you that Pakistan has a pathological hatred towards India, driven by a very strong jihadist mindset. So they are going to get back to you. They are going to get back, and that too with a very strong level of preparation. If you look at what happened after the 2019 Balakot strike, you will find that they bought all those fighter jets from China and also some very advanced radar systems, and they worked on their loitering munition systems also. This time they are going to work on their air defense systems and also on their rocketry. And then, I think they will, with the support of actors like Turkey and China, they would want to mount a massive, offensive against India. And we should not be complacent about the current victory. I guess we should focus more on the military part.
So on the question of complacency, Abhinav, I would like to come to our Eastern Front for a moment. You may have watched that all along the time of Operation Sindoor, various persons in the administration of Muhammad Yunus were trying to make all sorts of claims and threats that if there was a conflict between India and Pakistan, they would be helping Pakistan by some action on the eastern front on the Bangladesh border. And very recently, Muhammad Yunus tried to bring, once again, he tried to bring in the Northeast into his discourse by trying to label the Northeast as an independent country, which is separated from the rest of the Indian mainland. How do you look at these small provocations that are coming from the Bangladesh side?
Well, Smitaji, that Bangladesh is a gone chapter now. It's a dead chapter. Today's Bangladesh is the hub of Islamists and all kinds of proxy actors like Lashkar Jaish. They are having a party time in Bangladesh in the current system. As regarding the Muhammad Yunus's statements, I must say that basically Pakistan is testing India's red lines. And what happened recently was more of a dress rehearsal for something bigger, which is going to happen in the future, later or sooner. And Pakistan has realized, also, I must say, West, China and Turkey, they have also realized that Modi is a strong leader. And, Modi has shown that, it's something really, really extraordinary. In the span of 4 days, how can a country like India, they could really grab, they could really smash and thoroughly destroy Pakistan and achieve all their objectives. This speaks volumes about Prime Minister Modi's leadership. And this time, they also saw that, Modi's vision and leadership was standing class apart. It was extraordinary. We must be very prepared that, not just Pakistan, but its backers like Turkey and China, they will not leave any stone unturned, if there is any offensive with India. Bangladesh is certainly going to open a front there. Besides that, they will create a massively disturbing internal situation with the help of jihadists coming from Bangladesh and Fedayins, and better be prepared for a front on the eastern side, on China's part also. We cannot discount that possibility.
One question, Mr. Bansal, that has been discussed across the media also is the role of the China media in this entire episode. The way China has been trying to diminish India's claims, it has been trying to amplify worldwide the false claims of Pakistan, to the extent that the Global Times, the CCP mouthpiece, if I may use that word, actually look like the mouthpiece of the Pakistan army. How can a country that is as large and powerful as China behave in such an irresponsible manner and thus create a kind of a smoke screen which is not there?
See, in China's case, it was interesting that while no official statement came during the conflict, either supporting Pakistan, Global Times, which technically is a private news channel, but has often been parroting anti-India line and close to the Communist Party of China, has actually been virtually recirculating what Pakistan has been putting out into the global media. Probably one of the reasons for doing that was Pakistan was also claiming some usage of Chinese platforms and Chinese weapons, and exhibited huge success with those. So probably it helped the Global Times to propagate the efficacy of Chinese weapon systems, and I think that's one of the reasons why they were trying to do that. But Global Times has been known to voice anti-India stance even otherwise, and within China it is considered to be one media outlet which has consistently been anti-India.
Abhinav Pandya, we were just discussing about what's going on in the global media vis-a-vis the Indo-Pak situation and Operation Sindoor. So, New York Times, Washington Post and several other European media as well, even UK later, though not in the beginning, saw through the smoke screen, and it became very clear that while India had inflicted all those damages that were claimed by our armed forces, the other side had very little to show in terms of evidence. What do you think brought this change in the attitude, the treatment of these Western media platforms who have always adopted an anti-India line? Is it because the evidence was so overwhelming, no evidence was coming from the other side? Or do you think there is a realization gradually that they are being seen as supporting a terrorist country?
I think both. I guess, the evidence was certainly overwhelming. I mean, you cannot lie through your teeth. After all, you are a global media organization, let's say like New York Times, BBC. I was interviewed by New York Times twice during this conflict. And if the evidence is so overwhelming, everything is, clear cut, it's like in front of you, you cannot avoid it. After that, I mean, if you do it beyond the point, then you lose all your credibility. Secondly, I think, there was also a realization that, if they go beyond the point, in supporting Pakistan, then it damages, their reputation globally. And it shows them in a bad light that they're siding with a terrorist actor. And later on, it also came to light that Pakistani generals were, attending the funerals of hardcore terrorists. So I think, it can be very embarrassing for the West also.
I think we'll have to wrap it up here, Abhinav. There's no time left on the show. But on the question of which countries came to the support of Pakistan, certainly a couple of them did. But in the entire picture, the whole global perspective, where would those countries stand is also a question perhaps for another episode. For now, thank you very much, Abhinav Pandya, for joining the show at such a short notice. We will get back to you as the situation unfolds. Thank you. As Abhinav Pandya said, Narendra Modi's strong leadership has forced many of our neighbors to recalibrate their policies, be it the Eastern Front, that is Bangladesh, or of course, the Western Front, that is Pakistan, or even China. We are not worried about the calibration or recalibration of policies by our neighbors. What we have made clear is if you target our innocents or our security forces, you will have to pay back for it and the costs will be high. That is what Operation Sindoor has proven to the whole of the world. On that note, it's a wrap up on Media Scan for this episode. Do join us in our next episode with another issue of national importance. Till then, namaskar.